Hello and welcome to the first pilot episode of The Reject Pile, the show that gives a second chance to those creative works of art or entertainment that have been rejected. Maybe you've submitted some writing to an open door show or competition and been unsuccessful. Well, now the road doesn't have to end there. My name's Luke Edwards and I'm just one of thousands of aspiring writers in the UK writing spec scripts and responding to briefs only for my submissions to go unused, often with no feedback. Unlike other creative mediums, script writing doesn't have a lot to show for it at the end. The end product is a document, something that's only valuable as the input to another process, which actually results in the thing being made. So this podcast is about giving a platform to those writers and their creations, having those scripts performed and brought to life in audio form, giving those writers an end product from their writing that they can keep a record of and also use to learn and improve. We'll also go behind the scenes. We'll be working with script editors to provide feedback to the submitting writers to help to refine their scripts before the performance, and we'll take you, the listener, through that development process from the first draft to the version that you hear performed on the show. So let me introduce the cast helping me to perform the sketches this week. We've got Rob Stephenson.
Hello.
Amy Tobin.
Hello.
And Kevin Welch.
G'day.
On that note, let's get cracking with the show and perform our first sketch. Since this is a pilot episode and this concept was born out of unsuccessfully submitting to BBC Radio 4's open door show called DMs Are Open, I thought we could start with my sketch, which I submitted for their show called Brand New. It was the prompt for the first episode of their third series in early 2024. It's a brand new show. We'll do the sketch called Brand New.
The boss has asked us to go through these boxes of records and put stickers on them before they go on the shelves.
Okay, what's first?
Let's see. It looks like a new release by Naughty's American emo rock band, Brand New.
Brand new? What's it called?
I think it's self-titled.
Brand new, called Brand New?
True.
I love Brand New. I'll buy two.
Not new. We need to put stickers on them first.
What sticker?
These stickers that say new.
You want to brand my brand new?
Well, if it is new, we should brand it new.
Do the others, but not my two.
You don't want me to brand your brand new?
New.
I'll text the boss to get his view.
You're texting Andrew.
True.
When?
New.
Okay, you text Andrew new. I'll start to brand these brand news new.
Will do.
Andrew knew.
What?
Andrew knew you'd know brand your brand new.
Wait, if Andrew knew to brand brand news brand new, why didn't Andrew brand brand news brand new?
Because Andrew couldn't brand brand news brand new, as brand news brand new wasn't brand new till new.
But if you brand my brand new by brand new, then my brand new will not be new.
I see.
You do?
I do. Your brand new by brand new will not be branded new.
What's new?
It's Andrew's bad news. You'll no believe it's true. Check the date on your brand new.
2002? So Andrew told you brand news, no new.
That's true. Brand New's a band who've no new tunes to brand new.
So if we'll not brand these brand new, what will we do?
let's see. We have to stick explicit content stickers on these sordid and disreputable Australian imports of AC/DC's album featuring Ozzy Osbourne's Washington-based air conditioning unit.
For God's sake.
Ah, a CD Aussie AC/DC CD with Aussie's AC from DC. I see.
Now let's take a look at the development process for that sketch with our script editor, Phil Stewart. Hello, Phil.
Hello.
Thanks for joining me. Do you want to take a moment to just tell the listeners more about you and the work that you're doing?
I'm currently doing a master's in theatre directing, of all things, but I've worked for Sky Television or Sky Studios, working in the production of some of their comedy shows, so Christmas Carol, Mr. Big Stuff, and there was a comedy pilot directed by Peter Capaldi. And so I've got sort of a background in comedy television, for want of a better word, but I've also been involved in a comedy podcast show of my brother's called Dr. Witch. I've written a couple of episodes of that, and I appear in it every now and again. I'm also involved in a WhatsApp group where we write sitcoms and sketches, and we discuss our writing that came about from DMs Are Open.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, there was a couple of us, and we were chatting on what was Twitter, and we just sort of started chatting on WhatsApp, and then we added people, and now there's quite a few of us in there, and we submit sketches, and we sit and analyse them and talk about them, and then find out other opportunities and help each other.
So this is the first sketch of the podcast. We're talking about Brand New. At this moment, you're completely blind. You've seen the script, but you haven't heard the sketch. So I thought we could take a glimpse behind the curtain and talk about the editing and development phase that we went through.
When I look at scripts, the first thing I do is to read it all through, and I want to try and work out what is it that the writer is playing with. For me, comedy's always got a target. Normally there is a target of something that you are ridiculing, and so in this, it's clearly different ways of using the word new, shall we say, and the word brand, and the way that you can put those in different combinations to cause confusion.
Yes.
I mean, I have questions, obviously, as well. My first thought was, why was it you wanted to focus on that particular thing? Did this experience happen to you?
Not at all. No. You're all familiar with DMs Are Open, of course.
Yes, of course.
And the prompt was Brand New. So I mean, I took it really literally. My brain immediately went to Russell Brand, and obviously topical situation with him in the news. And I was sort of thinking about the impact on Katie Brand and Joe Brand as members of the Brand clan. And I had this line, Brand has been damaged by Russell.
That's nice.
And that was the seed, really, of just the repeating the words and, brand, and we need to rebrand brand.
Yeah.
So I thought, obviously, clearly contentious topics, stay away from all of the allegations anyway.
Fair
also,
enough.
DMs Are Open now. It's less topical. It's less topical than Newsjack used to be. That was the seed of the idea. Thought about the band. Brand New. I guess that's where it came from.
Now, this is another sticking point for me in this sketch. I hadn't heard of the band Brand New.
Yeah.
To me, if I can be critical to begin with, I don't think Brand New as a band are that well known, but maybe I'm just not familiar.
You're quite right. Yeah, no, I'm aware of that as well. I attempt to set it up early on. Can't remember what the script says, but it's like early noughties,
American emo rock band. But I wasn't sure if you just made up a name for a fictional noughties American emo rock band.
Yeah. So maybe what I'm picking up here is there's already confusion.
Yes.
Like in the first line of the sketch.
Well, it's
pretty much,
about the third line, but yes, exactly. To be fair, now I think about it, one of the notes that I gave was, where are we?
Yes.
Because I wasn't sure what's going on. What situation is it that these two characters are in? That's why I said, the couple of lines before is that thing where we're clarifying the situation. Often with sketches, that first line can be a little bit expositional.
Yeah.
But I think comedy gets away with it a little bit. But it is important, I find, in comedy sketches, immediately to understand what's going on. And also, confusion, and it's probably a bit strong, but can be the killer of comedy. And I think that's been established. I've seen that written somewhere else.
Yes.
In order for somebody to find something funny, they either need to understand the situation and relate to it and see why that is a silly thing, or understand that they are confused. A solution might have been have Brand New be something else, because the fact that it's a record, is that important? I'm not sure. They could be
No.
doing something else that's brand new.
Yeah.
But I know that you talk about, oh yeah, there's a brand new album.
Yeah.
And there's a brand new. I'm like, okay, I can see why you've done it, but maybe there is another way of expressing that doesn't have the confusion. But again, that might, or I don't know how you can get out of that. And that's where you think, is this sketch going to work? Because I may have painted myself into a corner here.
Yeah, already with the premise.
With the premise going, I'm talking about a brand new, a band that nobody's heard of, and the confusion of their name that I don't think anyone would have thought of. In a situation with records, which again is a somewhat dated setup. But then I guess that's the other thing that's really important, is knowing your audience.
Yeah.
So this would have been a sketch for DMs Are Open.
Yes.
Which is primarily aimed at, dare I say it, younger people than me. So making a cultural reference to something they are unlikely to have heard of, I think might have been a bit of a misstep.
Yeah. Cool.
But again, you can use this sketch in a different context. It doesn't mean, I'm not saying just burn this, kill it with fire. And I know, again, people go, well, I don't want to write for audience. I want to find what makes me laugh. Yes, true. Do that. Make yourself laugh. But then if you know you're going to submit it, only submit the stuff that audience is going to like.
Yeah.
This is like, 4 lines into the sketch, and I've not even got scratching the surface. So I have another question.
Yeah.
Now, I think I know what you've done this for, but you've also made Hamish and Dougal. But I get that reference. Yes. But they're not actually ever called Hamish and Dougal in the sketch. So,
and the listener of this podcast is hearing that for the first time.
That's true. Oh, sorry. Yes, the characters are called Hamish and Dougal, which is a reference to. So I'm sorry, I haven't a clue.
Yeah.
And indeed, its spin-off show. You'll have had your tea. So that's a nice little in-joke, which is great. But when I come as an actor, I'm going, okay, if I'm called Hamish and I'm Dougal, so therefore we're both Scottish. Why is it Scottish? Because you want to do the word new that's it. That's the whole.
Pretty much.
So why make them both Scottish?
Yeah, well, it's a good question. I don't have a ready-made answer
for one gag. I'm not saying we should have less or fewer Scottish people in sketches, but is this intended for Scottish performers, or they've got to put a Scottish accent on, and it's going to, you've also made them both male.
Yeah.
And again, I don't think there's anything in here that is gender specific.
No, quite.
So in naming them Hamish and Dougal, you've limited yourself to specific actors who can do a Scottish accent who happen to identify as male.
Yeah, or not when you hear the finished sketch.
Oh, I've not heard the performance. So then well, we'll see. But I'm going by the sketch, the thing on here.
Of course,
so a director might go, okay, so we need to get 2 Scottish actors in, or 2 people who can possibly do a Scottish accent, simply because the characters' names are Hamish and Dougal. I feel that for the sake of one new gag, it probably is unnecessary. But if you definitely wanted that new bit, one of them be Scottish. But it's being aware in your sketch. Is everything in there needed? I mean, I'm sure you know Chekhov's gun, right?
Yes.
And Chekhov, people think that as if you've got it and then it needs to go off. It's actually more precisely about minimalist approaches to theatre. The idea is only include stuff that's funny. Anything that isn't funny, just cut it. And every line, I mean, it sounds a bit much, should really be character-based or a setup for the next gag or a gag. People like to understand immediately the comedy situation, and they want a gag at least 2 lines in, and then we just keep hitting you over the head with gags and then get out as soon as you can. Yeah. So the gag rate could be higher, and I know you've also got very similar jokes. Yes, you should have a setup and then you have a gag. That's great. The gags, I think, should be variations on a theme, and they also need to progress and escalate a little bit. And then the last joke should be the funniest joke, and it should be taking the idea to its extreme and probably flipping the whole thing on its head so that you've now have a completely different understanding of what the sketch was all about.
Yeah.
Does this sketch do this?
Not for you. Yeah, I mean,
we've got an
we
AC/DC.
did talk about this a lot, didn't we? We had some back and forth.
We did
to try and get this right.
This is why I can talk about this.
Yeah, I couldn't find the solution.
No.
And what I
a bit harsh, but no, it's not there.
What I came up with was the idea that these couple of fools are just sort of locked in eternal wordplay tomfoolery.
To be fair, I will grant you, yes, you did the nice tongue twister ending with a CD Aussie C. Yeah, I can't even say it. That is great, but to me, that's an escalation. So the idea could be that rather than having the repeated jokes, you could start with the brand new,
Yeah.
then go up to the Aussie AC/DC, and then do more of these ridiculous things, and then you can punctuate it by doing something that really isn't any of these things and isn't a wordplay. Have you got the new Coldplay? No. I mean, there are some really nice tongue twisters in here. I think it probably takes too long to get to the really good ones, and then I like the escalation to the AC/DCs. But I feel there is another step to take, which, like you say, I don't think you found yet. All writing is rewriting. I see there's potential in there, and I think that you've got it to keep going and just keep pushing it until there is literally nowhere else to go. Not you can't think of anywhere else to go, but nobody can think of anywhere else to go. The punchline should be, that is it. You cannot continue this sketch anymore.
Yeah.
And then you'll realise it's about 15 pages long, but that's fine. You then come along and you cut out the less funny bits, and then eventually it condenses down to just the absolute gold, and that's where you end up with the perfect sketch.
So let's take this opportunity to have a listen to how it came out.
The boss has asked us to go through these boxes of records and put stickers on them before they go on the shelf.
A CD Aussie AC/DC CD with Aussie's AC from DC. I see.
So, Phil, you've just heard what the audience has already heard, the recorded performance of Brand New. What are your reflections now, having heard it, as opposed to the many iterations of developing the script on paper?
For one thing, the performers really brought it to life. I also think having an audience, you had other people in there who weren't in the sketch, who presumably were the actors in the other sketch.
Yeah.
That I think having an audience really does make a difference. Performing with an audience, I think, just helps you realise where the jokes are. I mean, in reading it, it's a bit dry in some places, but they had the audience. I think they were guessing the jokes before they were arriving, and I think that helps. And also some of the performances were really good. They did manage to really bring out the comedy aspects of it. It also whizzed by.
Yeah,
I thought,
well, that's a good sign.
It is. Oh, no, very much so. If you're reading this and it's several pages long, you just go, oh, come on, we're getting the same material. But in the performance of it, it had an energy and a speed of delivery that kept the momentum going.
Yeah.
Also, one slight note, and I think when I'd read the script previously, it was a different version, because there is material in here, in the punchline, which refers to the dated nature of the band Brand New.
Well, we had an exchange, Phil, where we went through a couple of iterations, and then the penny dropped with you, and you sent me a message. You said, "Wait, Brand New's actually a real band," and then I said, "Yeah, they're 30 years old," and you said, "How are you not playing with this?"
Yeah. So that added in the 2002, and I like as well in the performance of it, particularly it highlights the not necessarily rhyming couplets of it, but some of the poetry of it, to sound a bit pretentious, but so many lines end with the ooh sound, so manufactured. So when they don't, such as Hamish's "I see," and you just I think there could be more of those, but I like the fact that you're setting up the audience's expectation to have that ooh sound, and then when you don't deliver it, it surprises people. So you could arguably make that "I see" later or move it around, and I think some of the notes you've taken on board from our conversations, such as the 2002 line, I think that helps establish the end of the sketch, which is great. So you've used the material.
There's a narrative, isn't there?
Yeah, but what I mean is you've turned what could have been a bug into a feature,
okay,
which I think is a very good idea. You know what I mean? So when I made this comment and you're thinking, oh, here's a solution, I'm going to work that into the sketch. I still think the final punchline, it doesn't land as well as the rest of the sketch.
Yeah.
But it is a very difficult line to say. But I think the bit I like about it, and particularly in the performance of it, is that you can feel the laboriousness
Yes.
and the incredibly
It's such a tortured setup.
it is an extremely tortured setup, and I like the torturedness of it.
Yeah, I went for that.
I think there is a stronger punchline to be found.
Yes.
I think a punchline does need to be the best joke, not just the exit joke, but you've got to leave the audience on a high. If you've already had your best joke, which I probably would go with the 2002
Do you know what?
reveal.
I thought that because I've been listening back to it a lot since we recorded it. I have thought that possibly that is potentially like that's the punchline.
Yeah, it does seem to be the high point in the sense of it's a surprise and it's a twist.
Yeah.
But so now it makes the AC/DC torture joke, although I can see where you went with it, it's not as good as that surprise.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be the punchline.
Yeah.
You need.
I agree.
So you could cut it, or you could. But yeah, it's.
But that's
I do
also
think
an
it's worth
interesting
being
thing.
made.
You know, you think about this process that we've gone through with developing something on paper, getting a cast together, recording it, listen back to it. At no point did either of us say, "Oh yeah, 2002, that's the punchline." But when things just emerge, and reveal themselves,
the performance of it particularly, I think, revealed the punchline.
Yeah.
I mean, often things. I mean, I make films. I do audio stuff. And I will manipulate a performance in the edit because you'll go, hang on a minute, if I put that bit there and put that there, then that's suddenly stronger. So sometimes you don't necessarily know what it is what you can make until you've gone into the recording studio, until you've heard it, and then you can make something even better. And then you might say, hang on a minute, I've had a better idea. Can I just get an extra sound effect, or can I have an extra line? And then suddenly so development doesn't stop at the script writing stage, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Development then works in a performance, because I'm sure, I mean, not necessarily in this case, but performers can often say, well, can I just say this differently? Or the way that they deliver the line might make a whole different spin on things. I mean, less so in this sketch. I think the actors very much were on script. Some writers can be really precious about their scripts, and you've written a sketch and they expect the performers to deliver only what's written down, and they expect the editors to make sure it's a pristine. No, don't think like that.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it needs to be the funniest version of itself. And sometimes the practical process of production will help find and refine the script. And you might find that you might need to go into the studio again and record it again with different actors in case it doesn't land. And it might be a performer isn't giving it the certain quality you might want. Or you might find that it might work with a different voice. Maybe the two actors are too similar. And you don't know that until you've done it. And then bringing in a different actor will bring a different spin on things. When it comes to any dramatic art, it's a collaboration between the writer, the director, producer, the editor, and the performers. And lean into that, because ultimately everybody is aiming to make the best version possible.
All right, now it's time for our second sketch, and it's really exciting as this is our first submission from the wild. It comes from Rob Smythe, and it's called PC Who.
Right, you lot, look sharp. The Chief Inspector's not happy and he's on my case.
Don't worry, Mum. I'll get him a chair.
Now, does someone want to tell me what happened last night?
A gang robbed an art gallery and one of our officers was caught up in it.
Who?
Yes, I'm DS Who.
No, what's the name of the police officer at the bank?
It wasn't DS what? I think he's on holiday.
No, can you tell me the name of the police officer at the bank?
I think it was DC Ware, but I'd have to check our police records.
I've just looked, Ma'am, and we've only got message in a bottle.
So, let's focus on the stolen items.
According to the gallery, they took a number of valuable statues and some paintings.
Did they take any money?
No, their French Impressionist paintings were untouched, but they did take some cash.
Do you know how much?
I know how much. I think he's a court reporter for the local Chronicle. Why, do you want to put out a press statement?
No, I don't want to put out a press statement. I just want to know what cash they took.
Ring of Fire was my favourite.
Can we please just focus on the facts?
The fax machine hasn't worked in years.
Maybe forensics will give us a clue. Have they had a look?
They have, but apparently they couldn't find any prints.
Oh, don't worry. I've got Purple Rain in 1999.
It's weird. There's something strangely familiar about this.
Oh, you're right, Mum.
Only my estranged art thief brother Javi calls me Orla. It's DCI right to you. Wait a minute. I think I've got it.
Yes, Mum?
We need to call for backup.
Already done, Mum. This is DC Elaine for backup.
It's DC Comics now, Mum. I just got married.
Mum, there's another robbery in progress. It might be the same gang.
Come on, let's just go. We're running out of time.
If it helps, the police canteen does have some parsley and dill.
Mum, they've identified the lead robber. It's Javi Wright.
Oh, no. He ain't Javi. He's my brother.
I love that song.
So thanks to Rob Smythe for sending that in and working with Phil on the edits. Rob is a sketch and sitcom writer from Lincoln who's had several broadcast credits on BBC's Newsjack, Breaking the News and the show What You Wrote, as well as sketches performed on the Making and Impressions podcast and by OMF Theatre, Next Level Sketch Group and Sketch Please. He's co-written several episodes of Series 4 of Growing Pains with Natasha Adams and a podcast called Monster Hunters with Peter Adams. He's written his own sketch show, East Side Street, with Bamalam Productions and was a semi-finalist with the Sitcom Trials. You can follow Rob on x.com, the social media platform formerly known as Twitter, at 2014 Robert Smythe, 2014 Robert SMYTH. Rob joins us now. Hello, Rob.
Hello, hi.
Thanks for joining us in the Reject Pile. I thought we could start with just a little bit of an insight into the inspiration behind PC Who. So do you want to talk to us about that?
I'd always loved the Who's on First Base, the Abbott and Costello sort of sketch. Somewhere in the back of my mind making me think, oh, would it be really nice to do something similar, but to perhaps modernize it and maybe sort of set it in a context that had as many kind of possibilities, but wasn't sort of American sports themed. And so there was always something kind of nagging and sort of niggling away about that. And then tried a couple of times. I couldn't quite find anything. And then eventually I sort of thought about this kind of police theme, and I'd be writing some sketches for something else. And I saw obviously there was an opportunity to submit a sketch on that sort of theme. So I started trying to write it. And
one thing I like about it is that the gag rate is very high. You've got jokes that are you must have 4 or 5 per page, which is great. There are so many sketches that I've heard that they have a joke and then there's talk, and then they do another joke. I particularly like, and this is just me, the name-based ones that are a real labor. Really like, oh my God, did they really do that? My favourite joke out of it, I think, is in an earlier version that you cut, which is that I didn't know you knew Dr. Norma name, which it's like, it's not Dr. Normal name, but it's just like, oh my God. And I liked it because you took the puns and the bad jokes to the ultimate level of, oh, we can't go any further than this. That's as far as this goes. So I have a question. Why did you change the ending?
I liked it. And the reason I sort of took it out, I suppose, is it probably been a bit safe, actually, because it's one of those where I think when the whole sketch is so obviously just a kind of almost daft names and daft sort of plays, you can go really far. But I suppose I was probably being a bit safe, thinking that feels funny to me, and I quite liked going to that sort of extreme, but I'm not sure if everyone else will. But why did I change the ending? The ending was always quite hard because I said I had sort of various goes at this. One of my sort of favourite films is kind of Airplane, and there's obviously lots of silly kind of gags in there. Sometimes they'll do bits and there's no kind of natural ending, so then you cut to the next scene. With something like this where it's just sort of continuous gag after gag and sort of joke after joke after joke. It's not like a sort of sketch where you would say you can see it building and sometimes there might be just lots of dialogue and then it builds to the kind of almost the joke at the end, whatever the kind of the situation or the reveal, whatever it is. And that's the bit that brings the whole kind of sketch together. This is more, it was more just sort of continuous silliness. I found it difficult to sort of just find a natural ending that wasn't just the kind of another continuous name-based joke based on something else. So I tried to have a little bit of a twist to the story about why you're then doing that name-based joke, but it's something like, it wasn't easy to end.
I think you introduced the plot.
Yeah, I tried to have a slight nod, a little bit of a kind of plot line within it.
Without being too critical, I think I preferred the other ending, because I do think if you're going to write anything, you need to know the form in which you're writing. And therefore, people who write comedy sketches need to understand the structure and the form of a comedy sketch. Yes, you can deliberately go against it, but you do need to know the rules. And things like Monty Python, they know that their sketches don't have endings, but they were innovative because they deliberately didn't do that, if you see what I mean. Now, I'm not sure in this sketch you are deliberately breaking the form by going, I'm not going to give you the ending that you expect. I'm going to just suddenly stop. Because I don't think that suits the rest of the sketch, which is very traditional in its, we're going to give a series of name-based puns. So I do think you were right on your first instinct to go with what is the most extreme version of this. Absolutely, always go for that. And the other, this is in my pile of tips, always go with what makes you laugh. Don't not, what is it you said, you want to play the safe option? Don't do that. What do you want to do the safe option for? Be bold, just push it as far as you think you can go, because safe isn't going to get us anywhere. It's not going to, people don't want to listen to comedy sketches that are safe.
I wondered if it's worth just reading out those final few lines of the original version, just for the listener.
I like that idea.
Rob, do you want to take that, or Phil, either of you?
Which character do you want to be? Do you want to be DC Wright or DS Who? As it's your sketch, you can have the punchline, let's be fair. Now, the thing I like about this version also is it draws attention to the concept of the sketch and then exaggerates upon it. I think it's good. Okay, are you ready, Rob?
I'm ready.
Okay, so here we go. I need to lie down.
Oh, sir, are you okay? I'll call the station doc for you.
As long as it's normal name.
Sir, I didn't know you knew Dr. Normal name.
I don't know what that was so badly read, but also I think the fact that you fell off you were trying to read it and you realized how bad it was, but I think it's beautiful. I think it's so beautiful because it's so bad. I think it draws it's almost meta in its, I'm just gonna go there, I'm gonna go, yep, I've just done a sketch about people with stupid names, and I'm going to have the worst possible line. I didn't know you knew Dr. Norma Allname. I think it's wonderful.
I want to draw attention as well to the lines previous to that. So there's, this is DC Elaine for backup. It's just DC Elaine backup. I got divorced. So that's on the first version that we've just read out, and that has changed by the final draft. So that was something as well, I think, that came from a couple of rounds of feedback.
I think this might have been my joke, actually. I don't normally give jokes, but did I not contribute this?
You changed it to DC Comics, I think.
I did, because if you see behind, I'm very much a comics guy. There's like Sandman, and also I just thought, but they got married, so therefore you get an extra name thrown in.
And you went with that, Rob. So
thank you very much for that one. In the different versions, you've added extra jokes, and it's expanded considerably. Because originally it was about, what is this, a page or two pages, and now it's gone to beyond 3. Was there a choice to just keep throwing them in, or you just didn't know where the delete button was to going, I can't include that one? Or what was the reason to make it as long as it is? And I don't mean that in a negative way, just to expand.
Yeah, no, I think again, it's one of those. I think it's one of the for right for good or for ill, I suppose. It's one of these kind of concepts where I could sit down tonight and write it and just do a whole a whole different sort of set of jokes all doing the same thing, basically. When I'd originally sort of started trying to write it, it was probably even longer, and then you cut it down to for the DMs bit.
Oh yeah.
When I had the opportunity with the sort of feedback and the great feedback and the sort of the ideas and suggestions, it gives you perhaps a little bit more freedom, maybe to throw a few more in.
I mean, one of the things that makes me think of is you could just have it as a running series, that if you had a sketch show, you just have another, we cut back to the same police station and there, yet we've got another one, and then we move on. That could be a format for this, because sketches don't have to be one and done. They can be like a running gag.
Rob, do you recall which DMs Are Open episode this went in for?
There was a crime one,
Yeah.
so it was the crime one.
All right, let's take a moment now to listen to the produced sketch, and then we'll catch up afterwards to see what you both thought.
Right, you lot, look sharp. The chief inspector's not happy and he's on my case. No, he ain't happy. He's my brother.
I love that song.
I've got some thoughts. Being an actor, and also I've recorded audio, I think that in some of this was, how do I put this without being too harsh? It didn't always entirely do your sketch as many favors as I would have liked. Some of the lines were lost a bit. Although there were some very positive things to be taken from it, I think it might be, I don't know how you felt, Rob, but some of the gags didn't land, but it wasn't because of the script. I think some of the performances didn't quite land. Some of it was great, but I thought some of the jokes, they didn't quite, I don't know if they'd rehearsed it much or...
Yeah, it's worth mentioning, because I haven't mentioned this to Rob. The approach that I've taken with the production of the sketches is to try and capture as much of the live energy of first read through. So that is undoubtedly what's happening there. You know, you made the point a minute ago, Phil, how much rehearsal was there? Deliberately, there was no rehearsal. It's a sight read, and it's to capture that, you know, it's a gag, respond to the gag in the moment and get that authentic laughter. Now we do then go back and drop into, you know, where gags or lines have really been fluffed, or, you know, the gag has just been missed. We drop back in, but then you don't, because we're dropping in, we don't get, there's no laughter, you know, there's no audience. We've now read the script, we know the gag, so, you know, the laughter's not quite there. So that's the challenge, I guess, from the production side in the reject pile.
I do think that some of the natural laughter was great, and it did show that I think that those bits really did, you know, show that there is legs to this, and people were liking it. I think some jokes landed a lot stronger. I mean, the Prince one, I mean, yep, we knew that was coming, but it's still funny. The ones which are real groaners, they're the ones that got the biggest laughs. I'm going to have to look at the sketch again to highlight individual ones.
You had the fax one, don't you?
Oh, I love
the fax machine's a good one.
it's
Rob, so Phil makes a good point there, Rob, that how it's written and the voice in your head it becomes sort of out of your control the moment that it's performed by a cast. Do you just want to give any reflections from your perspective?
It's always amazing to kind of hear, and they sort of from my perspective, it was sort of brilliant, and then did a sort of fantastic job. From my kind of perspective, whenever you kind of hear people delivering the lines, there are always sort of lines where you sort of think there is somewhere it was kind of enhanced, and you think, oh, that's even better actually than I sort of rate the way they've delivered it. And then there are always sometimes where like kind of Phil was saying, it doesn't quite land in the way that you were thinking in your head. But sometimes with this kind of sketch, and I think with these kinds of jokes, sometimes things won't quite land, and you read it on paper and you think that's great on paper, but it doesn't quite translate. So it'd be one of those things where the perfect scenario would be you kind of hear it, and I suppose that's how a proper sort of process works. You hear it, and then you hear the actors, and you hear their voices and their sort of timbre and their approach and their tone, and you probably write some slightly different jokes that sort of fits in with kind of how people are talking.
I'm going to go back to my point I made earlier, is that I think the jokes that landed well are the ones that the actors got on board with very quickly. The jokes that didn't land so well might be because they're more complicated, or maybe I don't know, but they're not as obvious.
Yeah, I think more subtle as well.
Some of them are more subtle, and I think it's the kind of challenge would be if you just had a sketch of Prince facts jokes, the really obvious ones all the time.
Maybe it's too much sugar.
Yeah.
Too much sugar. I was trying to hopefully get a kind of a layered approach. So you had sort of more obvious ones and then sort of slightly more subtle ones.
You see, now
that's my.
I think that sketches which have got multiple jokes, it's not dissimilar to being a DJ. Bear with me, this does stack up. You've got to have banger after banger after banger, and if you play a dud, it kind of loses the rhythm. I think keeping the rhythm going, it's got to be the same tone and the same, and to just keep expanding and going down a certain road while people are enjoying a certain type of joke. If you want to do subtle jokes, I think putting a subtle joke in between lots of obvious jokes might disrupt that rhythm, in the same way that if you played a slow record amongst a bunch of being banger dance records, he says, not being a DJ, but you get what I mean. It's sort of a structural thing, really. It's if you want to start with subtle and then go on to the more ridiculous and then build it, it's getting that rhythm. I know you're saying all variety is great, but I think when you're bringing an audience along, you can't confuse them. And I think the audience, and in this case, the actors here, kind of lost some of their rhythm. They then picked it up again when you had a more obvious joke.
I suppose what you're suggesting is probably fewer gags and maybe just more bangers, and just stick with the bangers and having some of having a sort of lower gag rate, but just not having some of the less.
I think the rhythm just needs adjustment, I guess, is what I'm saying. It's not necessarily about cutting things out. It's going, why are you putting that joke there in particular? Yeah. I do think that the purpose of a second draft, as Neil Gaiman says, is that, is demonstrating that you knew what you were doing all the way along. And the idea is you go through your sketch and you go, okay, what have I got here? What works? What doesn't? What is the general point? Where is the thrust of not just a narrative in terms of the plot events, but the thrust of the build-up of jokes, the comedy narrative, for want of a better word. What am I doing there? And then does everything in this meet that structure? It is difficult because when you write a joke, you go, that's brilliant. And then you write another joke and you go, oh, is that more brilliant than the last one? Oh, I don't know. I just like it. But just because you like it, does it meet the needs of the sketch?
Yeah, and I just want to build on that it feels like the version of the sketches that we've produced for this show are part of a process that helps you reach a point where you do have the final or the latest and best version of the sketch. This isn't the only version that will ever be performed of that sketch, and I think maybe the focus we've got is a process of developing it on paper and then getting it recorded, and then that in itself is a further part of the development process.
Absolutely, yes. When you hear somebody else perform the sketch, and it doesn't have to be a recorded one like we've done on this show, get your friends to read it and perform it with you, or just get somebody to read it with. And if things don't come out naturally, then that's a genuine reaction, and use it and go, okay, that's not working. Why isn't it working? Why are they not seeing what you think is funny? Maybe you need to spell it out more. Maybe you need to clarify where the joke comes from. If it's something that you think everyone should understand this joke, everybody should find this funny, and they're not, it doesn't mean that it should be cut entirely, but you might want to look into why it isn't landing. And it's probably because they're confused and they didn't realize it was a joke. You have to be open to continually rewriting your work until you get to a point where you go, I don't know what more I can do with this. And then you get it performed, and then maybe you'll spot something and then you revise it again. But if you've had it performed and everybody's laughing at every joke, that's when you stop.
I think everything that we've just been saying, it sort of ties into the concept behind this show. Really, it's born out of writing these spec scripts and sending them off, submitting them to the open door shows, and not only not getting broadcasts and being rejected, added to the reject pile, of course, but you don't get the feedback. And in my own personal experience, I started to do stand up probably about 9 months ago, and that experience it's just poles apart from what I just described, in that you're getting real direct feedback from the audience. They are telling you whether it's funny or not, as we've tried to do with this show, having it performed by a group of people and capturing their candid laughter. That's the closest thing we've got to an audience giving us feedback. I think we also have to acknowledge that the development process does end at some point, and you say, okay, whether, let's say maybe it was broadcast on DMs Are Open or whatever, that's the point at which you have to say, okay, that's done now. That sketch has had its moment. It's been through refinement. It's now had its performance. I'll move on. Anybody want to sort of build on that?
Yeah, I was going to argue completely with that.
Go for it.
I think sketches can be revised. If you're getting feedback from anything, then you've got potential to revise it. So you can run a sketch, and yes, it can be on DMs Are Open. DMs had an audience, so you could see whether it got laughs or not. If there were bits in there that didn't get laughs, then yes, absolutely revise the sketch. And then you can, I don't know what the terms and conditions are for DMs, but if you think you can do better, then absolutely don't be thinking, oh, that's had that shot. If it's still relevant and it still lands, some sketches are of their time, but then maybe you can repurpose the jokes into a different context. So yeah, I wouldn't necessarily think that once you've written a sketch and it's been performed, that sketch is dead. If you can use it, do so. I think it depends on where you find your joy as a writer. If you like writing new things, then absolutely. But then every time you're writing a new thing, you're starting again from that level of is this funny or is this not? Whereas if you are more of I've got something that's funny that's getting laughs, but I can polish it. Then do that. I think of comedians often do work in progress shows, and they'll be performing their material, and some of it will get laughs and some of it won't. But nobody is going, well, I've performed that now. No, that's the point. It's a work in progress, and I think sketches are no different. The other thought, of course, the other factor for that is, why are you writing that sketch? As in, is it meant to be for the radio? Is it meant to be for like a review show on stage? Is it, dare I say, television? And there are no sketch shows on TV anymore, are there? The platform on which you've written it for, I think, also has an effect on there. If you're writing for a review show or a live performance show, then yeah, you can keep revising.
We've got onto an interesting topic here about the medium, haven't we? And I think what I'm taking from this conversation is that there's a huge amount of value in pursuing sketch as a review theatre, like actually live performance, looking for local opportunities, whether it's open mic or local sketch groups or whatever, just getting on the circuit and performing in a room with people. And perhaps, I guess, at the level we're at, which is this speculative, aspiring, budding writer stage, that's a far more attainable and probably far more valuable medium to be targeting than broadcast. I'm conscious of time, so I just wanted to really thank you so much, Rob, for joining us in the reject pile and being the first ever submission from the wild. So it takes a lot of courage. I wondered if we could just hear from you in the last couple of minutes, if there's anything you'd like to say about the experience that you've been through the development process, and then the listening back tonight, to people out there who are in the same boat as you that might be listening and considering whether they'd like to send something in.
Yeah, start off really to say absolutely massive thank you. Really, it's been a brilliant experience. It's been really kind of enjoyable. Getting the feedback has been sort of brilliant. Enjoyed that. Hearing it tonight's been really enjoyable. So I would definitely sort of encourage anybody out in the wild, or anybody who would like their sort of sketches to undergo the process, to have that sort of opportunity, have that feedback, definitely submit. And I hope if there's opportunity to work with you guys on this sketch, or maybe even others, that would be amazing. And it's great. Really big thanks to everyone, obviously, who sort of performed as well.
That's great to hear. Thanks so much, Rob. I think that's all we have time for, so it's time to leave the reject pile to grow in size once more. If you've enjoyed the show, have any feedback, and of course have any rejected material that you would like to send in for us to develop and perform, please get in touch via email on rejectpilepod@gmail.com. Thanks again to Rob Smythe for his submission, to our performers, Rob Stephenson,
Bye-bye.
Amy Tobin,
Bye-bye.
and Kevin Welch,
Good day.
to Phil Stewart for script editing and development, to Sam Edwards from Sunset Studios for audio production, and to Nellie Edwards for the podcast artwork. I've been Luke Edwards. This has been the Reject Pile Podcast. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.
Do the others, but no, I too.
This is DC Elaine for backup.
You said Eileen, does it matter?
Go on, Eileen. Mom, they've identified the lead robber. It's a Yavi Wright.
Oh, no.
Yavi Wright. Sorry. It's Javi. Oh, Yavi. Oh, damn it. Javi Wright.
Do the next one.